Welcome back to Buff's Garage. Today we're working on Dawn, our 1996 Ford F150 that we inherited from Sarah's dad. Now, I don't know how long Dawn's been without air conditioning, but I can tell you in the heat, it's not been very fun to drive. So, today, we're going to see if we can charge this AC up and get it working. If it is leaking, we're going to try to figure out where it's leaking from and stop the leak. Let's get started. Welcome back to Buff's Garage. Today, we're going to be working on Dawn, our 1996 F-150. Now, Dawn has been pulled out of storage because our minivan back here had kind of a fatal flaw. It's missing the pulley on the AC compressor. Well, it's not missing, it's broken. But you can actually check that video out up in the corner there. Would it be this corner? Anyway, Dawn hasn't had working AC for I don't know how long. So today we're going to charge Dawn up. We've got the supplies over here to get him charged up. We got a little we got some PAG 46 oil. You should always add some oil back into a system, especially if it's been opened or completely flushed. We've got the 134A refrigerant with stop leak and a UV dye detector. So what we're trying to do is see if he does have a leak, and we're just doing it the quickie route. We do have proper manifold gauges and such, but our goal is just to see if Dawn has some working AC. And if he does have a leak, we're going to fix it. And then we just got our standard refrigerant here. Now, anyone can do this. That's how easy charging an AC is. There's a few components that you need to understand, and you need to have one of these little cheapy valve systems. You can get the gauges. We've got a set of gauges that I inherited from my father, but you can get them at Harbor Freight. And if you want to get your pressures just right, those gauges will help you do that. But we're going to do the cheap route. I say the Walmart route, but in this case, we actually bought our stuff from Napa. We like to support our local auto parts store. But let's get started. How do you, what in the world? That was way too hard. All right, there's a few basic things you need to understand about air conditioning systems. This doesn't just apply to our Ford F-150, but any vehicle that has air conditioning, you need to understand a few things. Number one, you need to have a good, proper belt. It's not worn out. It actually needs to be on your AC compressor, which is down here. Just because you have an AC compressor and there's a belt on it, doesn't mean it's gonna work. So, kind of take a look at the system, and in our case, we've got some wet on these lines, but these are power steering. And then coming off of that, we've got this sensor here. We've got this line, it comes all the way up. And then we've got this port right here. Now this is going to go into our condenser, which is in front of the radiator. This is our high port. For the purposes today, we will not be touching the high port. Now in this vehicle, if we follow our lines back across, we're going to find our low port. Now the source of most leaks in most vehicles is this valve right inside the low port. This is the one we're going to access today to charge and to add all of our oil and leak stop and our UV dye. This is the one we're going to use. First thing I like to do when I know the system's discharged like this, we're not going to be, venting to the atmosphere, is I'll go ahead and change this out. Now I went and bought a whole bunch of different sizes and types for these, but it's just the same as trying to change out the valve stem on your tire. This is the kit I'm talking about. We got all these different sizes for all different applications. It even has the tool to remove. It even has the tool to remove your core. So we're going to dig in and remove the core on this one and replace it, and then we'll get to charging the system. A few extra tools that you're going to need for this. We have this UV dyed leak detector. So you're going to need a UV blacklight. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to get our tool. It's the same type of tool we use to remove the valve stem cores. When you have a leaky core, so we're going to put that in there. Yep. Just as I thought, there's nothing in the system. Here's what a core looks like. Now you absolutely do not have to replace this unless it's the leaky part. I've just simply found that this is usually the part leaking. All right, so we got our old one. Doesn't look too bad actually, but that doesn't mean it wasn't leaking. So we're gonna go ahead and replace it. Looks like we got a matching one in here. So we'll put that in, and then we'll start charging. All right. So in this application, we're going to remove this hose. It's got a little plastic cap on it, and insert that into there. Then this has a quick release that we're going to hook into our low side port. Now to make this work properly, the engine does need to be running and turning the compressor over. So it's going to be a little loud, but bear with me. It's all part of the process. Now Dawn has a bad power steering pump, which is why we got squeak coming out of our engine bay there. But when you do turn on your engine, make sure that you got the AC turned on max. The reason being is it needs to be able to engage that switch and turn the compressor on. Once we get enough refrigerant in the system, it will engage the switch, and then our pump will actually start pumping, our compressor. Here we go. I don't know if you heard that, but the compressor kicked on for a moment. And what we're doing is we're taking our can, we're going from the 12 o'clock position to the 3 o'clock position and back. And I can hear the compressor. Now kick back off. We're going to add a little more and see if we can keep it going. That's it for that. So we're going to let that circulate for a minute, and then we'll use our black light to see if we've got any leaks. So now we're going to add a little bit of our PAG oil. It's always good, especially when the system's been evacuated the way this one has, to make sure you've got some oil in the system. Now the recommendations are listed pretty much everywhere online. So see what you need, how much you need, and add it into your system now when you know it's empty. So the point of using our black light with our UV dye detector is to check all those main points, all the connections, the seals, anywhere that there could be a leak, and this UV detector is going to find it. So we're going to go through the entire thing, check all the different spots on the system, and see if we have a leak. Now I try to check all the areas, including where the condenser is. You could have a cracked condenser or a cracked feed line into the condenser. And then of course I checked my high and low ports and all the connections from there to the compressor and back. So we've checked it. I don't currently see any leaks. It could have just been that valve that I've already replaced. So let's get back and charge the AC. So for this vehicle, it is new enough that it already has 134A recommended for it. Some of your older vehicles have an R12. Not only is it pretty much impossible to find, but they make adapters to adapt your system over from R12 to 134A, which is readily available at Walmart or any parts store. So we're gonna go ahead and start filling this up. So now you're asking yourself, and me quite frankly, how do I know when there's enough? How do I know when there's too much? How do I know? Well, there's a couple ways. First off, use the internet. That's what I do. That's what a lot of guys do. There is a recommended amount of refrigerant that you put into this. And it tells you right on the cans, this one's 12 ounces, how much refrigerant's in the can. So if you know how much you're supposed to put in, and you buy at least that amount from the store, you should be okay. Now with a set of manifold gauges, you're going to be able to know exactly what your pressures are, and you're going to be able to monitor it because you're hooked into both sides of the system and make sure that you get just the right amount in there. But you ask, what if I don't have manifold gauges? Or what if I just want to see if the old 96 F150 can take a charge at all? Well, that's where the old cheapy one comes in. Now, you can get these at any auto parts store, Walmart, anywhere really. And it has an idiot gauge. And I say that because it's got a low, a filled, a yellow, and a high. Now what you don't want to do is overfill your system. If you overfill your system thinking, well, it's going to be extra cold, well, what's really going to happen is a lot of these systems have a switch that shuts it off when it's over pressure. So now, not only did you use way too much refrigerant, but you also don't have working AC. And you don't want to just vent that off to the atmosphere, but you do have to take some refrigerant back out. So what you want to do is you want to keep filling until you get to this green mark. Now a little tip, while you're using the system, when you hit this little throttle pedal here, it's going to jump way up high and you're going to have a freak out moment. Don't freak out. When you let off, if the compressor's running, it'll tell you where you're at on this gauge. Now, when you kick it back in again, it's going to jump back up. But again, as long as the compressor's running, when you let off, it's going to tell you on this gauge how much refrigerant you have in the system. So what you want to do is get it within the green zone. And yeah, you could go a little higher versus a little lower, but don't think you're going to get it all maxed out and get it extra cold. You need it in that window somewhere. Now, the best times to fill your system are on a day like today, anywhere between, I'd say, 70 and 90 degrees. But when you hit that 100-degree mark and that's the day you decide to charge your system, it's going to be a lot harder to tell on the inside and in the system if it's actually doing anything. So for us, just keep her in the green. Try to stay out of the old caution and red areas. Don't want to blow the system up or blow your seals out. Let's get back to this. Okay, so we've got our system charged up. I'll show you what that looks like on the little gauge. But let's go see how cold it is inside. All right, we got our AC turned to max. Got the vent on. It's opened up. Oh yeah. Saw that nice dust and dirt flying out of there. Yep, she's gonna freeze us out. So I guess the point I'm trying to make is you don't need to go get rid of your car or trade it in just because the air conditioner doesn't work. Now, we inherited this truck, but before, ever since I've known the man, I don't think he's ever had working AC. What we've shown is the compressor does work. We went ahead and did a few initial things to make sure it was gonna work by changing out that valve and checking for leaks. We refilled the oil inside of it and then charged it up. And now, in the middle of the summer, old Don's got to work in AC. It's about to freeze me out of here right now. So just understand, you can take something old and fix it and make it work again. You don't just have to replace it, and you sure as heck don't have to trade the whole car off for something new. Every car has problems. We got a 2012 minivan over here that doesn't have working AC. And this 1996 Ford F150 does. So just know that you can fix, reuse, and recycle anything. Just take the time, learn what you're doing, There's lots of different stuff out on YouTube. Get out there and fix some stuff. It's a lot better than just throwing your money away replacing it. One last thing. Before you close up shop and walk away, make sure you put the caps back on. That'll help keep the debris and anything else out of there. It's not going to stop it from leaking if it's leaking, but it will keep it clean and ready to use on the next one. So from all of us at Buff's Garage, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Make sure to hit that notification bell, and we'll see you on the next one.